Seems to be. So that's all good. Okay, so Sarah. She's tuning me out. She's like, if I don't make eye contact, she's going to forget. Sarah very kindly offered to share her culture today. So if you're ready, what I'm going to do is set.
I'm going to remain seated. That's right.
That's absolutely. No, that's absolutely fine. If you just want to say move the slide on, I can be your lovely assistant. I'll set the timer, and this is so it's 10 minutes. You don't have to use 10 minutes, but it just means that's all. Wow.
Not saying it makes sense, but I'll try.
Right. So thank you, Sarah. Whenever you're ready.
Okay. Well, hi. So I wanted to ask: has anybody ever met a bullthorn?
What is it?
No. Next slide, please, Jenna. So, this is a Boltonian born and bred, that's me. This is a Boltonian born and bred. So, born and bred, in Bolton, Lancashire, which was the main place for the founders of Warburtons, who opened a grocery shop in Bolton in 1870. And Ellen began baking bread in 1876 after the grocery market declined. My niece is actually married to one of the Warburtons. I've not inherited the money, mind. So next slide, please, Jenna. So it's interesting to see. As a Boltonian, we call these a barn cake, like a barn pot, barn cake, whichever you want to call it. What do you call them?
Stotty. Stotty. You got it on there? North East, Stotty.
Next one, please, Jenna. So Bolton is in Lancashire near Manchester. The name Bolton, I hope I pronounce it, I should do, comes from the Old English as Bolt, meaning dwelling house, and Ton, meaning enclosure, settlement. The population of Bolton when I was born in 1973 was 139,403, compared to today, which is 302,000. Bolton and the surrounding villages were an import textile centre long before the Industrial Revolution. In the 1500s, it had a reputation of producing clothes yarns and cotton. The cotton industry in Bolton, England declined sharply after World War I and virtually ceased by the 1980s. And then Bolton is now the third most deprived borough in the region, but also has become more diverse and multicultural. This is my early childhood, this is my memories, and that's my granddad, who was my rock throughout my childhood. And we spent every Saturday afternoon, and I mean every Saturday, religiously every Saturday afternoon, what we call the Conical, which is a Conservative club. Not Conservative, not Labour, I'm not getting into that. But yes, this is what we did. Now, Jenny, I remember Jenny saying about how there is the male side, the female side. It was the same when I was there, and they had like the smoking room.
Oh yeah.
So it was like, you couldn't even stay, it was like, So we'd go there as a child, and we weren't even allowed in as children, so we had to sit on the benches in the back. So we'd have our little, bottle of Coke and a packet of crisps. And that's where you can see the prices there. Fish and chips 21p, fish 13p, 8p. So then we'd go home, and then we'd sit and watch we'd wait for the TV to fire up. Come on. And then we'd watch, Doctor Who. And then pre-teens, I would spend most of my childhood again, like I said, with my granddad. Again, he was my rock throughout my younger childhood. And again, I would spend every weekend staying at grandparents while mother and father went out to work. And mine and my granddad bond again was special. I would drive my grandparents crazy listening to ZZ Top, still do this to this day, ball blast in the car wherever I can. The old record player, like this CDs or whatever you want to call it these days. That was the Sunday afternoon start, and then Sunday tea time, but you see the cassette there with the pencil in it. Yeah. So we'd listen to it and we'd put the cassette in. Oh, you had to put top 40. Yeah, top 40. And you'd have to put tissue in the top of the cassette so you could record it, otherwise it wouldn't work. So, you wet the tissue and you make the stick. So we'd do that, we'd stick it in, and then we'd wait, and we'd stop and pause it when the talking came on. The music started. It took hours just to record 4 songs. And then, of course, the cassette played, chew it up. So you'd stop and rewind. But yeah, that was part of my afternoons. This is a trigger warning. I hope you all It's not that bad. You know, you've got to do things. So basically I had a very good grounded upbringing until my mother's separation. A few years later, mother married again, and who became an MP, and I do not get on with him still to this day. No, we had our differences, and it was mutual, and that's when I became the rebellious one, if you like. Started drinking school, smoking, drinking, and not returning home. Basically, I didn't want to. And then I took them to care at the age of 12, and since then been looked at the care system, being moved around, different children's homes and foster placements. And then the big culture shift came along. These life changes changed me, huge cultural shift for me. I was coming up from Scotland, living on the streets, abusing alcohol, drugs, to survive. This lasted for about, I'm talking probably 6 years, maybe 5-6 years. And it wasn't long before I came pregnant. And I had to fight to keep the baby. The social services wanted to take the baby away or place me in with nuns. I mean, I don't know if it's a thing anymore, but you know, it was a thing to be sort of looked after by nuns. And I don't know if anybody's ever watched the documentary about, I can't remember what area it was, but it was about nuns' home and they killed all these babies. I don't know if you ever, I should look that up really, yeah, it was a thing.
Yeah.
Liverpool.
Yeah.
Probably on that. But anyway, after giving birth a month after, I thought, right, I'll show you. Resilience kicks in, yeah, come on, you know, I can do this. So I got my very first 2-bedroom council house. Quickly had to learn, it was a big cultural shift for me. And I ended up getting groomed by the social worker that was supposed to look after me, but yeah. So I never went to school, so obviously I never left school with no qualifications. So there's the old me. Always believed in myself. I had an attitude, I'll show you. I don't care what you say or what you think, this is me. And that's where I am now. Everybody's got this before.
Thank you so much, Sarah, for sharing that. Yeah, and just, again, lots resonated in there about my own experiences, the mixtapes, all of that stuff. Yeah. I'm quite a trade in mixtapes, I remember. High-speed dubbing, all of that stuff. Yeah, all a big part of my my youth as well. Okay, so welcome. Oh, it's gone off. Ooh. Yeah. Oh, that okay. Don't really understand what that was about. Anyway, I'm back. Okay. So I did put on Blackboard thing. I've changed everything around a little bit this week. So just to go through the rest of the week, we are on City Campus tomorrow. Okay, for the whole morning. Okay. So I did put a map, a link to the map. Once you get to the Charles Hastings building, finding the rooms it's not like this place, it's not as big. So you will find it's just getting to the campus and all of that kind of stuff. So we're there all morning, and we're going to be we've got a nice big room to start off with for the first part of the session. And then we've got a not so big room for the second part of the session. There are no other rooms. I've looked so many times, it's unbelievable. But I had planned we were going to do some kind of some experiential work anyway, so I've just moved everything around. So today and tomorrow is going to be a bit of a mishmash of us thinking about systemic practice and also thinking about assessment as well. So that's the plan for today. Just also to say next week, I think Abby said something about things are a little bit different next week. Your teaching times are the same. Basically, my module, you're being taught alongside the BA students in the morning. And that's because I've got some impact members coming along, so they're coming to meet the whole big group, which means I did a swap with Abby. So that module's in the afternoon, but your times are the same, it's just what you're doing when is slightly different, that's all.
So tomorrow is infirmary place opposite the police station?
Yes, that one. Yes, the old infirmary, beautiful Victorian building. That's where we're going to be, yeah. Okay. Okay. One other thing I wanted just to catch up with you all about. The other thing is that the additional academic writing sessions, the first one's next week on the Tuesday. So thank you to those who've emailed me and signed up. You don't have to, they are optional if you feel that you benefit from it. So there's 3 of those. Now the other thing that I'm aware Abby has mentioned is that people might find it valuable to have a look at an exemplar of an assessment. Now I can't really fit it into the module teaching because it's cram-packed. I am happy to offer a session sometime where we could do that. Again, it would be an optional extra for those who would find that useful. Can I have a show of hands of people who would be prepared to stay and do an extra session on that? Okay, so I will do that. So what I'll do, I'll probably look, because Tuesday probably makes the most sense, because we've just got the morning, I'm in anyway. So if I look to book a room for an hour or something after the morning sessions, I'll do that. What I will do is bring an essay, and I will print off the grading criteria, and basically you can have a read of the essay and have a go at grading it, and then I can tell you what grade I gave it. Yeah, because that can be really helpful just in terms of you understanding what level you're pitching at and that kind of stuff. So that's what I'll do. So again, I'll look to book a room, and I'll send that date out, and then you can let me know if you're going to be coming. Okay, I think that was all I had to pick up at the start. Okay, so in terms of the Pebble Pad work, there were a number of things that you were doing last week. Learning agreement, reading the blurb about the shadowing. Lucy's going to fill you in on shadowing later in the week. There was some learning about assessment, so we'll pick some of that up today. And there was also the presentation about systemic practice as well, and the weekly journal. So those are the things that I'm anticipating you've engaged in ahead of today. Okay, you'll have to catch up if you haven't been able to do that. And I know,
So, do you know with the Pebble Pad?
Yeah.
I'm guilty at this. If I don't understand it, I'm kind of skipping it. Is there a specific answer you're looking for? Because I'm not answering it because I don't get the word in.
So, what I would say is, if you're struggling with the wording, as in the bit that I've asked you to fill in at the bottom, either email me or put a question on the forum on Blackboard, and I can hopefully help. It's really important you put something in there, because your engagement with that work is all evidence of that bit about professionalism. So don't just ignore it. Even if you put, I've looked at this, and I still don't understand what you want me to say. At least I know that you've engaged with the learning and you've looked at it. Does that make sense?
Email her and tell her I'm going crazy.
Yeah. And I do reply. So do that. I mean, I would say, if you can, put it on the forum, because then, because your question might have answered Intezar's question. Do you know what I mean? And it's there then, and I'm not replying. Yeah, to multiple people. But yes, don't just ignore it.
I do have a question.
Yeah.
If the work that we're doing weekly isn't to the level that it would need to be to pass, when do you tell us that?
So the work that you're doing, it's not assessed in terms of your grade, okay? So your portfolio is purely on those 3 things that we've talked about: professionalism, reflection, and building relationships. It's not about your intellectual ability to grasp some of the content, the content that we're doing. That will be demonstrated in your written essay, your report that you write. So don't worry. So that's what I mean. Have a go. If you're not sure, don't miss it because you think, I don't understand and I'm gonna fail, because you're not. Yeah. So have a go. It's really, the resources are on there for your learning, so it's purely for you to engage in something and then put your thoughts. There's no right or wrong, it's just to engage you in that. Okay, does that help? Yeah? There's no right or wrong. So I know the presentation about systemic practice, again, is quite technical. Some of the language is quite technical in there, but again, if you want to consolidate, you can go to the reading list and kind of read around as well. But we'll be thinking a little bit about systemic practice today. So let's start with that, actually. Here we are. So I guess this is the fundamental basic idea of systems approaches, systems theory. This idea that individuals exist and are to be understood within various systems, which include the family system as well as work, cultural and social systems. And in some respects, for me, this is what marks social work out as being quite unique in terms of a lot of other health professions, particularly where they can be quite narrow in focus. You know, I'm focused on this issue that you have. I'm not going to be interested in all of the other stuff that's going on around it. Actually, as social workers, what systems theory would say is that actually we need to try and understand people in the context of all of those systems. So that's the basic premise. So there is a focus on context, relationships, communication and interaction. That is what happens between people rather than within people. So there have been these developments in systems thinking over the years, and that came out in the presentation. You know, that it started out in the kind of late 60s, 70s with general systems theory, but has kind of evolved to this kind of ecosystems ideas that we have today. So this distinguishes systemic practice from other linear therapeutic approaches. So this idea that, okay, I have to, in some respects, work out what the issue is and put in a plan to resolve that issue, that actually systems opens it up quite considerably to say there are potentially a multiple number of ways that you could address whatever difficulty someone's facing in the context of this system.
Sorry, what do you mean by linear?
So linear is in a straight line, yeah? So linear approaches would be, you know, this is the problem, therefore this is what I determine you need by way of an intervention. So yeah, what systems approaches would say is that you know, that might be one approach, but actually there might be multiple ways that you could intervene within that system. Okay. So, in terms of the presentation or the reading that you've done, what were your key take-home messages about systemic practice? Any queries? Anything that was confusing to people? Anything that people need clarification on in terms of systems theory? Did you like it? Did you not like it? Why? What did you
It
think?
made me think differently about how I look at things in relation to how to help people. For example, I think somebody mentioned, for example, if it's a family and you help the little boy, does that mean that all the family are going to be affected by helping the little boy? And I think that really thought, oh, I didn't think of that.
Yeah.
So it's a different perspective.
Yes. Yes. So recognising, and that's the idea of reciprocity.
Yes.
There was all of those terms which I kind of feel quite overwhelming, but that idea of reciprocity is that if you intervene and make changes within an individual, then there will be a knock-on effect throughout the whole system. And I remember we talked last week, didn't we, about family therapy? So that is based on systems theory, family therapy is. And I remember doing some training, I worked in drug services with a family therapist, and he talked about a case he had where there was a teenage boy who was engaged in problematic drug use, and there had been various treatments offered to that young person, I guess in a linear way of like, let's try some CBT or whatever, without any great success. And then ultimately the whole family had become involved and had family therapy. And what became established was that the family functioning was all predicated on this teenager having the difficulties that he had. So what that meant was there was homeostasis, stability within the family system. It was difficult, but the family, the parents, were pulling together around this difficulty within the young man in the family. And that when he had made some changes to his drug using behaviour and seemed to be moving on, actually the impact on the family system was that the parents' relationship was becoming quite fractured. So the behaviour then became more problematic because then it returned the system to some level of homeostasis. Does that make sense?
Yes, and he recognised that when he...
Whether that be conscious or unconscious, yes, I'm not saying that was a conscious thing of, I have to start using, whatever. But that's what became established through the process of family therapy, that actually that young man's drug using behaviour was functional for the family system. Yeah? Yeah. Yeah, I was a bit like that when I was like, what does that mean? What does that mean about all the stuff I'm doing? Like, yeah.
I find that quite a lot of it in mental health as well, when you have a poorly patient and the family dynamics needs that patient to be poorly because they don't know who they are without it.
Yeah. It can become a core part of that family's identity and culture. Yeah. Yeah. So that's that idea of reciprocity. Now, the challenge is, well, there's lots of challenges, but one of the challenges is you don't necessarily know what the knock-on effect is going to be, do you, without trying it, noticing, reflecting, and coming back to it. Yeah.
It's a lot of big words, isn't it? Just
It's a lot of big-
a bit of a knock-on effect for everyone.
Don't worry, I am here to translate this into... Yeah, well, and that comes from the where systems theories come from. It's come from like science, the ideas around we can study systems in terms of, scientific systems, computer systems, the languages used, management systems. I studied management systems, So these ideas are not just in social work, they're across the board, but they've been brought into social work in the late 1960s. And this is where it's evolved really to kind of ecosystems approaches where the language feels a little bit more aligned to social work. Because people will go, we're dealing with people, we're not dealing with computers or, organisms or whatever it is. Yeah. Any other? Did it make sense to people, generally?
It did when you break it down, but at first when I was reading about general systems theory and stuff, I was like, that is so complex and complicated and scientific, and then you actually kind of put it in layman's terms, dumb it down, and you're like, well, that makes complete sense.
Yeah.
Why does it have to be so complicated? I don't.
They
It keeps people like me in a job, doesn't it?
Love Bronfenbrenner theory.
It's the same thing, isn't it?
Yeah. I did a lot of that in my last course.
Okay.
Once I got it, absolutely loved it. But when I was first introduced to it, I was like, it's an exosystem, what are you on about?
Yeah.
And now I get it, I'm like, yeah, that all makes sense, but why do we need to put all these technical terms to it? Why can't we just simply put it as these interactions impact these other interactions and it's...
Yes. Well, I guess the Bronfenbrenner thing, so the ecosystems thing, particularly Bronfenbrenner, kind of took it a little bit in a slightly more nuanced direction in that so Bronfenbrenner's model is that the individual is embedded within these other systems, yeah? So if you start with the outside, you've got the kind of chrono system, is that what it's called? That's the one, isn't it? Which are big shifts over time, like COVID was a massive shift within the chrono that then impacted on the macro system because there were policies that governments made that then impacted on everybody. That then had an impact on the micro system, schools, relationship with schools, all of that that then impacted on each child in each family. So it's really recognised.
I know.
Pardon?
We did a whole module on Born for Burnout. And you just
And you've
nailed
just
the
done
Kronos
it in a
system
minute.
a second.
Boom.
That's the thing, it's like so overcomplicated, and then once you get it, you're like, oh, well, yeah, duh.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Sometimes you need just some good concrete examples to go, okay, that's kind of
on the Kronos system.
what it means. Yeah. So it has evolved, and in reality, when you're in practice, you will be thinking about it in the context of your cases. So you'll have something very concrete on which to kind of make sense of some of those systems ideas. So what do you think the systemic practice? How will it apply in practice? Well, what are your thoughts about how it will be useful when you get out there into social work practice? Any ideas? You see.
You can support with your assessments and stuff, so you can better understand who are protective factors in that person's life and supportive factors, who maybe may put the child at risk.
Yes.
What are the relationships between the people that are there to support them? You know, if it's a child with the parent, yes, they're both in the child's, you know, wanting to support the child, but actually, are they not getting on? And so that's then impacting on the child,
Yes.
kind of thing.
Yes.
So you can better understand their different environments, how the different environments interact, and how that impacts the person you're working with.
Yes. Yeah. Fundamentally, systemic practice relates really well to assessment, which is kind of why it's been brought together in relation to assessment today and tomorrow. So it can help in terms of intervention. What system, where within the system might I seek to intervene to effect change? But ultimately, until you understand somebody and their difficulties in the context of all of those systems, you're not able to make probably the most effective judgment and decision through that process. Yeah, Lizzie, your hand was up.
Very similar to what Lisa said. To me, no person is an island. And systems to me mean socialisation. Like, what is making you be who you are. So it could be family, primary socialisation, secondary socialisation, education, etc. Every institution basically in your life affects you in some way,
Yes.
including the experiences you have. So everything's going to have an impact somehow.
Yes.
And then you are not on your own because all these systems affect you in that way.
Yes.
So nothing's independent, is it really?
Yeah. And you, as a social worker working with a person or a family, then become part of that person's system, their formal system. So then it helps you kind of conceptualise that. You know, what place do I have? What influence might I have within that system? Yeah. Okay. It feels like you got it, the crux of systems theory. We'll think a little bit about assessment now, recognising that systemic approaches can be really, really helpful in terms of assessment. So, you also watched a presentation about assessment. Okay, so we've touched on, we talked a little bit about assessment. Lucy's referenced assessment there in thinking about how systemic practice can be implemented. So assessment, just for anyone who's unclear, is a fundamental part of the social work role. So it is this idea of, to intervene, we need to have a really good understanding of that person's situation, networks, whatever. Okay. So there was, the presentation talked about Dyke's 3 levels of assessment, and it also talked about something else that I've forgotten. What else did I do? Oh yeah, I did the 5 stages of assessment. Now, we will come back to that model because my experience in working with students and sometimes qualified practitioners is that sometimes assessment gets reduced down to a form. and I'm really, really keen that you guys are not seeing the assessment as a form that you fill in, because if it gets to that, artificial intelligence will take all of our jobs. Yeah, because if it is just filling in a form, anyone can fill a form in. Yeah, assessment is a process through which you make decisions and judgments about the people that you're working with. We talked about that in terms of recording, didn't we? That you have to make judgments, but they have to be based on lots of information, which is your assessment process. Okay. I thought this model was in the presentation, and then when I watched it back, I realised it wasn't. So I thought I'd better just go through these models of assessment as well. So this is from Smale and Towson, and they wrote about 3 different models of assessment. The procedural, the questioning and the exchange. So these are 3 different models of engaging in the assessment process, so that a social worker can adopt these models in their practice. And the first 2 are place the power really in the hands of the social worker. Okay, so procedural is you have quite a detailed assessment form that is designed to establish if someone's eligible for services. So, so the procedural is designed by usually senior managers, gatekeepers, who design a form to say, this will help social workers determine if this person is eligible for a service or funding or whatever. Okay? The questioning model is in some respects allied to the procedural model, but that's about that the social worker has a set series of questions that they want to ask to arrive at their judgment about what might be needed. The final is the exchange model of assessment, and this is seen as the most desirable model of assessment in social work, because the exchange model is recognising that actually it's not my assessment as a social worker that I need to do. This is a partnership, and this is about me working with the person that I'm with for us both to develop an understanding of what's going on for them, what the issues might be, what might need to happen in the future. So it's seen as being much more aligned to some of the values of the profession that you're learning about with Abby, around partnership, empowerment, social justice, some of those principles. Okay. So I'm going to shut up now for a moment, and I want you just to have some conversations on your tables. I want you to share some experiences that you have had of being assessed. You will all have had multiple experiences of being assessed. I'm not talking about a social work assessment, I'm talking about a whole range of assessments. Yeah? You were all assessed to get on this course. You've all been assessed in your degree. Possibly a lot of you have had driving tests, all sorts of things, yeah? So I want you to share some of your experiences of assessment, how you found it, what was your experience, and what was helpful or less helpful about the process of assessment. Yeah? Go.
Learn to drive. Now it's
The interview was procedural at first, in the sense that we had to put in all our information and make sure we could get onto the course, right? Then we had the questioning side of it, because when she was interviewing us, she knew what she wanted us to answer.
Do you know what I mean?
We gave the answers.
Yeah, so there was a bit shame.
No, I don't think it was Jane.
When he was on what time was that, and that
Like she said, about artificial intelligence, if it's strictly maybe procedural questioning. My experience with searching for job here in the UK right now There are forms you see, it says, how long have you had experience in this? You need the experience I have. There are a lot of skills that are transferable to this role you want.
Oh, the application.
But I can't say, for example, I have that experience. Yes, I didn't work like that in those skills. But the skills I have,
We all got GCSE.
when I say no, you don't have experience, oh, it's unfortunate. I'm looking at your role, it's something I can do very well.
They don't check.
Yeah, and then you have another assessment with whether there's like corporate phone or whatever.
Jesus Christ,
What they said, how you've done today. And I was like, I have good days, they were like, we have good days. I have bad days, we have good days. Yeah, and then I really for
managing young people, teaching them skills, all things required for me to do education. Just procedure. They are cutting me off. I should have been very When it's changed, I will have been able to provide them. Even though this
20 years, then invite you in and say, so I dragged a bit, I can do it. Relatable and transferable.
That's where exchange comes in.
Once they've met you, they're not going to find anyone better, are they? Yeah, you have to go. Bikini there with them. What do you say to you? That is the problem with the application. It's a prescribed, aren't they? Especially when they don't even interview us. They're literally just who's tick box this better.
That's things that you then need work.
So we've got to change our CVs all the time.
And then they'll be like, I'll say,
Like on their website, find out what their buzzwords are and stick them on CV.
I'm like, yeah, 5 to 10. Like, oh, well, I've only said 5, so you obviously, and I'm like, okay, what needs work? Like, is it 5 or 10? And I'm like, I don't know, like, kind of thing. So, yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
How would you gauge that?
I am good at
Patient should be, you know, hopefully they contact the doctor and say, you know this person better, you know their condition better than you. Do they need this? Are they this? They change the CV or not? Here you go, here's I don't know what you're just put on that last time.
That's what the cover letter used to be. Yeah, like the cover letter depends on what they said in the job ad. Someone that's enthusiastic and flexible and like,
There's also something
With a health visitor, and actually, also she's like, how was that, you know, if she needed to work on those how, you know, things like, just turn up. I'll bring your grandmother.
We're talking about assessing job the previous experience I had, placing their roles there. That industry and the form it says how long can you work. If it says 0,
Yeah, but then
if for example, I lied at 10, I told you for a long time, which now becomes president. During that time, and they will see you are
How long have you worked? What year? So there's 11%
what the situation is. It can work. So like even Commons Masters, like the beginning of it's quite procedural. Like you always have what you need to do. We are not involved in that. Having up with 2 or whatever, and then if you get past that, then that's the actual thing. It's not that it wasn't a positive experience, it's just like I wanted to it was a yeah, well, and that kind of process, if you go with it's all predicated on legislation, isn't it? It has to be you're all asked the same question, and like, just because I really like that, I'm not like prompting to get, you know, like, because there's all of that in there about my case, like, I can have some daughter so that I can go, oh yeah, the answer that really well. I might not choose to prompt somebody else for the whole range of reasons. So it's designed to be very fair in that way. So I guess potentially it does open in your hands as a social worker to manage the dialogue. Well, so there will be some, everywhere that you will go on placement or work will have their own forms. Yeah, they have their forms via so some forms will be very boxy, very structured, yeah. Some will be more open. But I guess if you're so it's not just about the forms, some forms might be more assessment, you might be really to get that information. There'll be some forms that exchange style assessment. When we go out for patients, is that what we need to sort of
Remember the 5 stages on that presentation? Data collection. So,
Did you take all and then leave and then find out what the system is based on that?
So they haven't even said
in some respects, sometimes what can happen, and students fall into this a lot when we start doing the assessment practices, that they jump to intervening too quickly, because that's what you feel the value in what you're doing is.
So they're sitting on it. So
Don't underestimate the value of a really, really good thorough assessment conversation. Students coming out and they were taking the approach. I would much rather they said, a lot of information, I'm going to go away, I'm going to think about it, I might need to come back and have a further conversation, and then something out there that doesn't exist.
mine was they were student violence.
Well,
that's the
so then you think, okay, I need to flag that actually this has come up. Or is there some way I can advocate for certain things being delivered, or do you know what I mean? Whereas if you're just trying to fit people into what you know exists, so there is absolutely. Because again, if there was, you get a computer to do it, or you get someone unqualified. You may go down. You missed all those things and one else that actually might have been doing that. Well, you could miss the actual and what the exchange of the other system says is that actually it's also about working with others for them to understand their difficulties better and maybe into an exchange that isn't about you and services but and their actually what they might be that's one of the barriers sometimes. It varies up to, I mean, when I was in practice, I was doing a schedule. 45 minutes an hour, an initial assessment on the social. Sometimes I didn't need that long, sometimes I needed longer, and I have to come back.
Yeah, well, so I went from
previous conversations we just had, she made a whole judgment on it. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Oh yeah, and they were all beneficial to me. So, but still on 3, it's just to start a life to be learned.
Significant decision.
It's huge.
Okay. Shall we come back as a big group and just kind of pick up some of the conversations? Okay, guys, are we ready to come back as a big group? So I joined a couple of groups, not all of you. So there was like driving tests, interviews, all sorts of things that people were kind of remembering and thinking about in terms of assessment. So what were some of the conversations you had?
We were talking about how trying to claim, for me personally as well, how oppressive claiming for disability benefit can help.
It is a nightmare.
It's
Yes.
absolutely ridiculous.
Yes.
The old bullies.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So, like, all the questions are so intrusive, but also worded in a way to try and catch you out. So, a lot of disabilities obviously are fluctuating. So, they're like, how are you today? So, if you're filling that out on a good day, you're like, yeah, I'm a 7. So they're like, not eligible. But then if you're like, okay, well, on a bad day, I'm a 3. They're like, oh, so you don't have, well, not every day is a bad day. In that case, you're not eligible. And you're like,
Yes. So this is where assessment can feel like there's already a judgment that they've made about you or that they want to make about you, and the questions are leading to that, isn't it, I guess?
Like the assessment's not to find out if, like, not to find a way for you to be eligible, it's to find a way for you not to be eligible.
Yes.
It's like
Yes.
they're like,
Yes.
answer all these questions so that we've got a reason to deny you, and not so that we've got a reason to support you, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And you don't
Yeah.
even approach your doctor who's known you.
Yes. And knows your medical
Random
history,
person calls you
certainly.
up and is like, we need to do the assessment, and then if they ask the exact same questions, but if you give a slightly different answer to what you put on the form, if they're like, can you walk, how far can you walk? If you're like 5 to 10 metres, they're like, oh, on your form you said 5, so is it 5 or 10? And you're like,
7.5.
I'm like, I don't, well, 5 on some days, 10 on others. They're like, well, if you can do 10 on others, then you're fine, you're not eligible. And you're like, fucking
Yeah.
point.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's the psychological effect it has as well.
Yeah, sorry guys. So Sarah's talking about the psychological effect that can have.
It feels like you're being watched, or you're doing something wrong,
Yes.
or don't act in a certain way.
Yes.
Like, it's just, it's
Yes, and that process of being assessed, so if you know, and like, because we talked about it actually, the impact of the fact that, okay, this time I'm driving, I am being assessed.
Yeah.
How that actually impacts on your behaviour in that moment, that actually I've been driving fine and suddenly, because I know I'm being watched, that inhibits me, that changes my behaviour. And can have quite significant impacts on people's well-being. That whole idea that actually relates to ideas around power, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That actually I don't have the power to determine what I need. Somebody else is determining what I need or how good I am at something or
It puts
whatever.
people off applying for things that they're actually eligible for. Like,
I think the problem is though that so many people apply for it when they're not eligible for
Well,
it. That we've got this culture
yeah.
where actually we do have to try and catch a lot
but I
of people out
saw
because
in one of the social
like.
work books I was reading, it said that actually, a couple million is spent on people that abuse the system, but actually a couple billion isn't spent on people that are eligible that don't apply because of the stigma that we've created.
Yes.
So, but no one talks about how much we save off people that don't apply. It's just spoken about, oh well, we lose a bit because people abuse it.
Yeah.
But then, like, you feel like, well, how do you know if you're eligible or not? Because it's such like a so like if I fill it out on a bad day, but I'm always like, what if they like see me walking down the road and I said I can't walk that far on a bad day, but on a good day I can, and
Yeah.
me kind of
Yeah. And one of the things about recording practice is that, so there's somebody called Liz O'Rourke who's done quite a lot of work around recording, and she did some research and she found that social workers were struggling with this thing about wanting to write in a strengths-based way, recognising people's abilities and strengths. However, knowing that actually that assessment might mean that somebody's eligible for something. So it was this thing of, well, I want to be positive, but actually if I'm too positive, they're not going to get the service. So that actually social workers were saying that's like a real tightrope to try and walk. You know, I'm trying to write it for those multiple audiences. You know, yeah. So that's really difficult.
Who did you say was that wrote that?
Liz O'Rourke. I think, yeah, she's done quite a lot.
How do we spell that second bit?
O''ROURKE, I think. Yeah, like Mickey. Yeah. I think it was on the PowerPoint for last week's session, I think. Her name was, I don't know whether it's the research. Yeah, so thinking about that, so we've all got experiences of how it can feel to be assessed. Someone's making judgments about me. You know I might behave a little bit different, all of that. What can help? So if we're thinking about, okay, what might help in that process that we can take out into social work, Angela?
We spoke about, we went down quite a rabbit hole with the whole PIP thing, and
Yeah.
so we tried to talk about what are our positive experiences.
Yeah.
And it was some of the best assessments we've been part of or seen have been ones that you don't even know there's an assessment happening, where it's just a conversation. And it's like the right information is drawn out of that conversation without direct questions.
Yeah, so I guess fits more with the exchange model that we talked about. I do have a bit of a word of caution about that, because it's interesting, the language has changed quite considerably in adult services, particularly in the UK in recent years, where you're not allowed to say assessment for a whole range of reasons, because it does hold a lot of, you know, connotations, the idea of being assessed. So in Worcestershire, you would have a conversation, yeah, so that's the language. However, my mother-in-law, right, went through all sorts last year, was caring for her husband, and was entitled legally to a carer's assessment. And I kept saying to her, you're entitled to a carer's assessment, you need to have a carer's assessment. She was really, really struggling. And anyway, she ended up chasing it up, had a conversation with somebody from the, whatever they're called now, the carers unit or whatever, and they said, oh yeah, you had an assessment. So they'd had a phone call with my mother-in-law. Now she just thought, I've had a conversation with a nice person from the carers unit. Actually, that was her assessment. Yeah? So I have mixed feelings.
I think be called what they're called though.
Well, I don't have an issue, but I think the purpose that this is what this is.
Yeah.
The reason we're having a conversation is I want to understand you in the context of what's going on, with a view to us thinking about, you know, what you might need, what might be going on for you. Like with that, fine. But without that, you know, I just really thought, gosh, that's worrying. She doesn't know she's had an assessment, and that will be recorded on a system as an assessment somewhere. She has no concept that it was an assessment, what she said, any of it. I did want to get a copy of it, but I thought this is probably not what she needs right now. It's me going, get a copy of that. I did. So I was like, back away. But I just thought, oh, that's, yeah.
Do they have to legally say, by the way, I'm going to have a conversation with you to assess?
Obviously not.
So no, oh, okay.
The word conversation is not great though, is it? Because you just think, oh, that's nice.
I'm having a chat. I'm having a chat. You know, it's a conversation with purpose. It has a purpose. So I don't have an issue with that, and I understand the whole word assessment does create connotations of judgment, but in reality, that is sort of what you're doing.
I would rather
you know?
be judged and know I'm being judged than think I'm having a nice chat.
Whereas I'd rather it be like someone said, let's have a chat about what's going on with you and what you're going to need and what we can put in place for you.
Yeah.
Not let's assess your needs and what we can do for you. Actually, let's just chat about what's going on and what we can provide for you. And then at the end saying, okay, so this is what I've gathered. Is that right? Brilliant. I'm going to put this through as your assessment. And then I could go, oh, actually, I didn't know that was an assessment. You know, can we go more in depth?
Yeah, I mean, you know, be thinking about relationship-based practice, and we're all different. We will all have different responses to the word assessment or to the word conversation. That's the thing. Yeah? So it's thinking about like moving away from this idea of this is how I will do it all the time with everybody I meet to actually what does this particular person need, you know, and exploring some of that. So, okay, so sorry, I went off on one there, didn't I? So something about like what might be helpful, better practice in terms of assessment. So any other ideas that people talked about? Talked about being clear, didn't we, about what you're being assessed on? Yeah. You know, like in the context of like the driving test, like actually what are they looking for? Do you know what I mean? That in terms of our experience of.
Yeah, we talked about driving. I use myself as an instance. You know how to drive, but now someone is sitting there. You're not sure.
I think you're quite rude driving on Saturdays as well, quite like stern, and I remember saying to Mike, you've been doing it for a long time, and he was like, yeah. I was like, tell you about grey hair and cream, he was like, Sherry, just have a bit of filter on there. He passed me, but they were very stern, and you just feel awkward, you can't speak.
So to be like that, aren't they?
So, but in the context of social, sorry.
No,
Okay. But there is something about how we as individuals manage that process and make it, you know, try and enable somebody to feel as relaxed as they possibly can, knowing that they're going through this conversation with purpose or assessment or whatever it is. The language of assessment is still used in children's services, interestingly. That is still the language.
They're used to being tested, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, I always said, today we're meeting for an assessment, this is what it means, and we talked through it. And nobody went and ran out of the room, but you know they might have had a response to it. I don't know.
We talked about the aspect of exchange, like blind dating, where we exchange information, basically meeting then talk, and we're assessing the person.
Yeah.
They meet.
Yeah, and you know there's that whole process, isn't there, of like what information, what outcome do I want, what therefore, what do I share? There's all of that, isn't there? That we're making those judgments about, okay, is it appropriate to make a joke, or is it, do you know what I mean? We're making these judgments about what pieces of ourselves we're going to share as part of that process. So yeah, we will be thinking a lot more about assessment as we go through the module, and of course you also have your formative essay. For those of you who are keen to do that, that is about the assessment process as well.
When's that due?
October the
Formative is.
25th. Thank you very much.
October?
Yeah.
What do I write in it? I can't remember what the question is.
It's on there. Have a look. Okay. So are we? Yeah, I think we're ready for a break. It's hot, isn't it? Should we have a?
Yes.
Yeah. Should we have a break? It's 14:52. So if we could start back just after 3, a couple of minutes after 3, we'll have 10 minutes.
Is it on PowerPad or Blackboard? It's got a formative due in 18 days.
It's on Blackboard.
The formative essay is not graded, isn't it?
It's not graded, it's a practice, yeah? So it's an opportunity for you to submit something, get it marked by your tutor and get some feedback just to see how you're getting on. Yeah. So yeah, it's on Blackboard, it's in the assessment folder. Yeah?
The actual one, the 2,000 words, 3 cases. When are we going to have the scenarios?
The scenarios are they are the cases that we will be working on throughout the module. So you're going to see the first referral today, and then gradually as we go through the module there'll be others. Yeah.
Because I didn't understand the assignment I was looking.
It's early days. You haven't done any of the teaching yet, so it's fine. I will be scared. Don't be scared. Be fine. Is anyone going to have a break?
What time do you come back?
10 minutes, so just after 3, yeah. A couple of minutes past 3.
And then
Oh, it's there.
There you are. Critically evaluate the role of assessment in social work practice. and include an analysis of the link with anti-oppressive practice.
Just a question for just 1,000 words. I could write like 1,000 words of just assessments alone.
There you go. Yeah, I mean you could, yeah. I've got to find some water in this building.
Are we going to go over the formative question?
Are we gonna?
But just break down the question a bit.
I wasn't going to.
Oh, okay, please.
So practice.
Yeah. Or not even necessarily with this one, but I always find sometimes assessment questions are so wordy, I can't, my brain can't put it apart itself. So I always find it useful to just sit down and go with the, okay,
Yeah, I mean it's not formally assessed. It's an opportunity to practice.
It is very different from the
So the word actually carry chunk of
Great.
this one. Is this one I just
Then you can.
Yeah, that's what I looked at it, I was like, let me just see what's going to make me pass or fail. I don't yeah, but there's a lot of, but sometimes the questions are a little trickish, because you don't know if it's right or wrong.
Yeah, because often there is no right or wrong, it's just like what she's said. Oh, that's hideous.
And the paper part, the one from last week, there was a no, you can answer no to I think 2 questions out of it. The first one was your own opinion of the course. The second one is any, yeah, something like that. Part of the question was any. You had the option to put any.
Oh, so that was the learning agreement.
This one, have a look at it.
Have you got some water?
Okay.
Let's go.
social practice, so that oppressive practices is there just because of
Sorry, what's the
they might feel that.
generally isn't it? Yeah, but I guess in terms of like say if the role of assessment is social
where they are
like also
this one I like
I handed all the
them
stuff in the day the place before she told us to.
very fast.
Yeah. Oh, it's your fault, not my fault. It was 3 weeks, and they sent me an email saying that I was provide proof of the college.
Because online they get too much, they call them, so they don't
They had I can see the letter on the system.
no, me I don't want to be so I didn't want to.
This one is the one I think is not criminal. This is the NA, right? So it's I just use my own machine. I don't know what people know, I put it there based on it. I Google what's the support services. And then the other thing is specific all our right. And let me just generalize. So I would say I would general, just generalize.
That's not like, yeah, it's just. I know what they're doing.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a project that I'm having. I mean, before, and I'm also in YouTube.
Do you know the group's just one? Who did you meet? Were you in the classroom when you sat there? And which group were you in? Who were you with? You were with Patrick, yeah? Yeah, I think I've moved you on Blackboard now.
Because I saw my name in groups and they emailed me, I'm even in their group, so I was kind of like shocked when Sanji texted me and said I'm also in group 4.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you would rather be in group 2 because that's who you've done this with? Okay, no worries. I'll have a chat with Saji and his group. Okay. So we've got a new member of the group come in, so maybe we can. Okay, cool.
Just wonder because we
somewhere like after your intellectual and science, there comes the stomach infrastructure.
Alright everyone, I think most people are back. Right, what we're going to do now, we're going to get into a bit of practice stuff. Okay, so I am going to ask somebody to take the role of somebody who is accessing a service. I'm going to be the social worker, okay? So I'm just inviting you all to think about, like, is there somebody who you think you could be? And I can be the social worker.
Sorry, I missed the first part.
So I want somebody to play the role of somebody accessing services that I can come and assess. Yeah? So you're not being the social worker, so you can do, within reason, whatever you want. yeah, someone who's happy to just take the role of. So if it might be that you've worked in and you think, oh yeah, I can be that really awkward person and really make Jenny struggle. But yeah, someone who's got an experience that they could play. Or I'll have to go to my random name picker, which, you know, I will do, because otherwise we can't do it. I'm getting the random name picker. We're going to get the old adrenaline going, everyone.
I just have nothing to offer to this conversation. I don't want to do it, babe.
Oh, I've got to find your register now, because I thought I'd have somebody. I've never had nobody put themselves forward. So congratulations, you guys. You're the first group to ever resist this to this degree before. Saying no.
I don't know who she is. Not into that.
Right.
She's really good.
Wheel of Names, that's the one, that's my favourite. There we go. It's good, we feel the adrenaline.
Oh, it's a big wheel.
It's a big wheel, right, are we ready?
Yes.
Tell you what, I never win anything, so if I come up here, I'm going to be fuming.
What did I do? Come on down, Right, so you've got this. So I'm just going to talk through the activity. Well, have a seat. While Angela thinks of a scenario that you could play.
What services are we doing?
Whatever. You tell me. Yeah.
I don't know enough of them. What are they? What options?
No, no. You're not playing a social worker. You're playing somebody who's come forward asking for help. Yeah. So just think of a. You could be drunk. You could have relationship difficulties. You could have mental health difficulties. You could whatever. Yeah. It might be a family member who's struggling with whatever. It can be anything. Yeah. So what we're going to do in a minute, we'll conflab in a sec. So what we're going to do, I'm going to be the social worker, okay, going on a visit. You guys are my supervisor, yeah? You are on the visit with me, okay?
Big house.
So, it's a big house. Wow. So what I want you to do is to make some notes of feedback for me, yeah? So we'll do the little interaction and then we leave, we get in our car and you give me some feedback. Okay? Yeah? So I'll stay and roll. I love this acting thing. You'll realise this about me. Okay, so you need to tell me.
I don't have a pretend name, do I?
Well, you can have a pretend name or you can be Angela.
I'll be Angela.
Be Angela, yeah.
What would you like?
As a result of my house, so how it is to be energy.
Okay, cool. Okay. So that's this. Okay, so ready? Okay. Wait a moment. Hello. Oh, hello. I'm the social worker. I've come to do an assessment. Can we go in? Would you like to come in? I'd love to come in. Thank you very much. Can I sit in that chair? Is that okay? Oh, well, where are you going to sit? On the floor? I'll tell you what, you have that chair and I'll get this chair. Okay. So, it was Angela, wasn't it? Angela. Okay, I'm Jenny. So I'm here to do an assessment. bit pushed for time, so we'll just try and get kind of as much information as we can, if that's okay. So, mental health issues. Okay, tell me about that.
Been struggling for a while now.
Okay.
And life's kind of fallen apart. I've lost my job, lost my relationship, and I'm now losing my home.
Oh, okay. So you haven't been paying the rent?
No, I lost my job. So lost
Okay, okay. What you say you've been struggling for a while. Tell me a little bit more about is there something that's triggered it?
Just like I say, I was struggling with my work anyway. Wasn't really very good at it, and it was quite a stressful job, which impacted on my mental health.
Okay.
Okay. So it's a bit of a chicken and egg situation.
What job was it?
Well, I was training to be a social worker, funnily enough.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So, have you been to the doctor?
Yes.
Okay.
They haven't been very helpful though. They sort of tried to give me some medication, but obviously it's life that's the problem.
Right. So you're not taking the medication that was suggested. Okay. Okay. So relationship. You said relationships have been
broke down. Yeah.
Okay. Tell me who you're in a relationship with then. Who's
nobody now.
Oh. Oh. Okay. So the relationship's actually ended.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay. Okay. So this is your place, yeah? I mean,
it's not my place. I'm staying with family at the moment.
Oh. Okay. Okay. What family are you staying with?
My sister.
Okay. Is she okay with that?
Not really.
Okay.
It's a means to an end.
Okay. So what are your arrears like? You said you'd...
Oh, they're not good. Like I say, my landlord just kicked me out, so that's why I'm staying with my sister at the moment.
Okay. Okay. It's quite complicated, isn't it? Okay. So there's quite a lot going on. We've got quite a long waiting list at the moment. So probably what I'll need to do is to go off and have a chat with the team about your situation and see if there's anything we can offer you in terms of service, because it's, you know, yeah, it's, I mean, I'm sure you've heard government cuts, we're short-staffed, we've got all of that stuff going on, so it's quite difficult at the moment. But I'll certainly go back and talk to the team, and I'll let you know kind of how I get on. All right.
Okay.
Yeah. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
All right. Okay. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Right. Let's get in the car and go back into the have a seat. Right.
Not to unpack.
So.
What a shit show.
That was
Actually, sorry.
Your supervisor now. Are you ready?
You're my supervisor. Yeah. What? Yeah. What's the problem?
I think you're not professional at all.
I'm not special at all.
You're not friendly.
Well, I'm not friendly.
You just let yourself into there and you're welcome. You don't introduce yourself. You went in.
Just grab this.
Sorry, I'm just feeling a bit overwhelmed because, like, you know, okay, so unprofessional, unfriendly.
Yeah, you didn't take the proper look at your surroundings. You didn't empathize at all.
Yeah, no empathy.
Facial expression.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, to be honest, like I had this dumped on me. You know that. You're my supervisor, yeah. I was meant to be catching up on all my case notes, and suddenly, because someone's off sick, I had to do this.
That's
so
not her fault, and you've made her feel like she's a burden by being there, and you're just sort of like, oh, I've got to do this, get it done.
I felt like you offloaded on her.
I was just trying to be realistic with her, really. You know, we all know the system, don't we? That it's, you know, under a lot of pressure and that.
You did not research your service issues before coming in.
Well, no, I didn't, because literally it was like, oh, so-and-so's off sick, get out to see them. So yeah, I didn't research them. Yeah.
Just walked in, that's why you were just like making your way through the door before you were not able to go in.
Well, I guess I was aware, I didn't have a lot of time. I've got another visit booked, so I just needed to get in and
You
out.
asked a lot of questions. It wasn't really a discussion.
I wanted to get as much information as I could, because I knew I didn't have a lot of time.
But it just felt more like a checklist rather than actually a discussion of what are their needs, and like it's not that you're discussing what help do you need and what can we provide with you and work with you to do. It was more just what's the problem? Okay, I'll go and chat to someone else that you've never met before about all your problems, and we'll decide if we can help or not.
Well, I guess, there's a reality there, isn't there? I'm not picking up another case.
You also made it like aggressive about it. I'm just going to go and talk to the team.
Well, that's what I've got to do, because, like I say, I can't, I'm maxed out on my caseload, so I was sort of trying to let her know that, I'd take it to the team and we'd respond as a team, really.
Well, you came across quite judgmental, especially when she said about the medication, not taking the medication.
Oh, you think I was judgmental about that?
You didn't ask her why or anything, you just said, so you're not taking the medication. Okay.
Well, that was a straight question. I think that's an important piece of information, isn't it? Whether she's taking the medication or not.
If there was reasoning stuff.
I think your tone, you weren't very, your tone and your approach to her and how you were asking her the questions was just very abrupt.
Oh, was it?
I was really awkward watching it. I was like, oh my God.
Oh, okay. Well, I was rushing, I'm conscious I was rushing.
I just want to clarify, you did ask her about her name.
Mm-hmm.
Why are you sure she's the right person speaking? Because never confirmed a basic demographic like age, date, things like didn't do that. And lastly, why I noticed that you never offered any service. You just said you're going to give a feedback.
Yeah.
That shows you came empty-handed. You never, because.
Well, I can't just go here. I had 20 minutes max before I've got to get to my other appointment. I'm not going to go off in a service in 20 minutes. I'd get slated.
Yeah, but a social worker doesn't have a time frame when you assess, and it depends on how long it takes.
I don't have the time for. I can't be starting. I don't think she'll meet the threshold anyway. For a service. So. No?
Right, I feel like we're not using the right word.
Okay.
So, yeah. When you were asking her questions and stuff like that, you could have put it in a certain way that would not make her feel like, oh, am I bothering her? Because that was the kind of vibe that you were giving.
Oh,
yeah, that was the kind of vibe that you were giving, like she's bothering you. You don't want to be here, kind of thing.
Oh, well, that,
She's certainly not going to pick up the want to be a social
I've got a positive for you. We're transparent and we're aware that there is quite a long waiting list, so we're going to unrealistic expectations.
Yeah.
So positive.
It's important, isn't it? Yeah.
So, although you took some time to ask about her environment, you did ask about her network, but you were running into conclusion without maybe getting some information, maybe from the network or through her, from the network or reaching out to the network or anything. You just started listing possible services that could be, without maybe some analysis, the judgment, the information you already got from her.
Yeah. I didn't, I was very conscious, like, I'm not going to be picking this up. So I wanted to be, someone else needs to pick this case up, really.
You didn't discuss what the next steps could be, so yes, there's a long wait. But
well, I said I'd go and talk to the team, that's the next step.
But then you didn't say what the team may, what idea the team may come up with, or what's going to happen next. Is she going to get contacted by someone? Is she going to know whether or not she passed the threshold?
Okay.
You didn't explain that you actually aren't going to be her designated social worker, that you're just there for the assessment. So she might have a new one rock up on their door, she'll be like, well, where the hell is the other one?
Okay.
Thank God.
I've worked with a social worker just like that, and are you okay? Do you need a cup of tea?
So that's how it felt from your perspective. Yeah.
I was just going to say, like, they said that you didn't say, like, if you'd be back in. I think she would have known that you weren't going back. Like, you didn't want to. You didn't really, like, want to get to know her, and I think she would have felt that.
Okay. And Jenny is back. So,
And lastly, Jane.
Yeah.
One, I just remember you didn't ask her for her consent if she's happy to complete the assessment, which is normal. We should have done that from the onset. Consent should be asked before.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Fair point.
ID show.
Right.
She just said, I'll sit there, baby, you sit on the wall.
Yeah.
So, all the information though, so you get the job.
I didn't get all of it. I got some information, didn't I? Yeah. Okay, so that enabled us to think a little bit about bad assessment practice. But it also gave us the opportunity to start thinking about feedback. So in terms of this kind of you giving me feedback, which bits do you think I was most receptive to? What was most helpful in terms of the feedback that you were giving, do you think?
Just get a new job, babe.
Just get a new job. So you will be giving feedback to each other. You will also be receiving feedback as you go through the module. So I want to just spend a little bit of time thinking about what's good practice in terms of feedback. Now, what I know is some of you were furious at what you saw just then. Yeah? So what did you notice in terms of the dialogue about the feedback?
You were very defensive.
Yeah.
Defensive? Yeah? Okay.
You were more engaged if we said you didn't do that and maybe you could have included this and you were like, right, okay, well yeah, maybe, okay, I should have.
Okay.
So we were breaking that down a little bit, but if we just went, well, that was that, we shouldn't have done that, you were like, well, this is why I did it.
Yeah, yeah.
So you need to be constructive.
Yeah. Yeah, so there was something, I mean, you know, so Dara was talking about, you know, actually you didn't, very concrete, very specific, you didn't talk about consent. It's difficult to argue with that because I didn't. But when there are generalities about you were unprofessional, you were unhappy, like, yeah, it's difficult really for me to make sense of that, I guess, in terms of feedback, isn't it? Yeah. You did a positive, yeah. I mean, so in terms of giving and receiving feedback,
Positive should have come first.
try and get some positive. It's difficult sometimes, obviously it was pretty bad, but, you know, I did pick it up. I did go out and see her at the last minute to cover for someone who was off sick. However, I mean, Angela, you made a good point that actually part of you just wanted to say, are you okay? Quite often, the best place to start is asking for some self-reflection. How do you feel it went? Because actually, what would have happened if you'd said that, I would have gone, well, actually, I don't think it went very well because I'm really stressed because I was conscious that I had someone else to get to and all of that kind of stuff. And if then the person says, well, actually, I know, like, I should have done that, I didn't do that very well, you kind of don't need to do it then.
Yeah.
You know, you don't have to have the difficult conversation, do you, at that point? So we will be getting, as we go through the module, where you're working in pairs and you'll be doing some simulation, you'll be practicing some assessment, and it's really helpful for you to give feedback to each other, but giving really helpful constructive feedback. So think about kind of how you can do that. Right, okay, so next thing, and apologies because I know you said about sitting in your learning groups at the start. I want you to move so you sat in your learning groups. Sorry, I forgot I was doing that. So if we have, now Justice, you're going to be in learning group 4, okay, number 4. So if we have learning group 1 here, 2 at the back, 3 over there and 4 here. What I'm going to do is put a referral up. And this is the first referral you're going to be responding to tomorrow. So I want you to spend the rest of your time just having a look at the referral. So, does everyone remember what learning group they were in? No, I did wonder.
We were just saying, what group are we?
What group are we? Learning group, where did I put that? Modules. Learning groups. Yes, you're nearly there. Half an hour. Not even half an hour. There we go. So favours not there.
What we got here then? We get some notes
We'll see, then it's not our big. Okay, so let's get everyone on their tables. Which one's so 1, 2, 3, 4. You're not in 4, Sarah, you're in 2. I'm in 2. I was thinking, this group's looking a bit big. Yeah, you're group 2 over there. Yeah.
More the merrier.
Learning group 2, yeah?
Are you in any of the ones that chat? So yeah, that looks right. That looks right. Yeah, small group of that. Okay, so what's going to happen tomorrow? We'll have the first bit of the session in the big room, and we'll be thinking a little bit more about systemic practice. And then after the break, you are going to, in your learning groups, visit Mary. Okay, so I'm going to bring the referral up, and what I want you to do in your groups is to kind of plan how you're going to approach that. Each group will have, I worked it out, about 15 minutes or so. So we're thinking about now those 5 stages of assessment in the Milner and O'Byrne model. Preparation, yeah? And then tomorrow you're going to be in the data collection phase with Mary, okay? So have a chat on your tables and I'll work my way around planning how you're going to approach that, okay? Yeah, so this is just background information. I need to get 2 pages on one screen. My technical skills are not that great. So you get layout. We need to kick favour out.
How do I get to?
Can't you zoom out, Tommy, at the bottom? Will that make 2 of them come on?
No, screen. Just makes it smaller.
Yeah.
Okay, right.
The little page bit next to the zoom in and out, does that do it? Oh,
No. I'm glad it's not just me though. Okay, well there you are. So I'll tell you what, well that's if I do that, at least you've got the crux of it, and then I'll move it around. Yeah? It's on Charms as well.
That's the usual red.
Or if you can open in 2 pages.
How do you do that?
Yeah, it's just there. It's like downsize, and then you open it.
Open it again on another tab?
Yeah, and then you can...
Lateral thinking, I like
What would you
it.
do without it?
It's just amazing.
You are both right now, aren't you? Anyway,
Got to find it again, sorry. If I do, there we are. Make that bit look, there we are. So that's that, and then I'll get the front page. There we go. Oh no, I can't remember where it is now. This is what my logic is. Where I saved it. It's in here, and then in here. There we go. Yay! Well done, Saj. We got there. I know it's going to be a stretch. 69.
I know, Craig.
I feel 60.
I would after that interview.
Is that it? Just that little...
Yeah.
So she's 69.
Yeah.
Are you female, lived in Herschel or Evesham?
Now, because I've got a child
So she's still now, she's 69, she has a son who has a
I know she's getting on, she's trying to
GP's known her for years, she's 69 years old.
unless she's ever just told them she's suffering from low blood pressure.
I'm guessing he didn't die.
So what's the problem that triggered his anti-scaling? So that's showing all live.
So she's asked for assessment in relation to support needs. So what's the question?
Yeah.
What we need to do in preparation.
Yeah, preparation, so we look at it, like, is there any services to access to the community prior to it? Is there any?
That would be similar for some, she's going to be of some age now, she's 69, you know, residential option, she's not going to be around forever, like make sure they know everything that is available.
Yeah, that's the preparation.
She's just moaning at depression, and she's just anxious at the moment regarding
She is getting older now, isn't she?
So it's a case of what we put in place to relieve her anxiety is to give her some make sure it's working hard.
Yeah.
Is it support needs for herself or for the family?
It'll be for them as a collective.
Yeah, she's like, we don't do that.
We're looking at systematic approaches, actually, not linear.
So preparation, yeah, so it's like.
A household assessment.
First thing we look at is what services available there already, and then the next thing is what they need.
Having that discussion with her, isn't it, and seeing what she thinks.
Yeah, collateral.
Jenny said earlier, you don't go to the service thinking, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. You have the discussion, then you think on
No, but still, we need to do the basic.
find out what's made good for the
Basically, if I do what I do is I look at the community service. Like, is there any? The thing is, just if there is, if you are a social worker, you have access to the system, like the charms and things. So there is like, if that previously been accessed, then the information from whoever is involved is there. And if you have access to like GP or like any, comments would be.
So you would be able to see the GP comments through the initial assessment.
Is like if you have how many?
Oh, we want to see. Oh no, it's gone.
My records from Stoke, it's online.
It's number 3.
You know, it's mentioned in the GP,
Yeah,
you've got to live with your son, is that the only person you know?
he needs this.
You know, anybody else in the household live with you, also that's
Preparation to arranging every like a preparation. Arranging every city is one thing we do is so we need to, it is because it's 3, we need to arrange every city as soon as possible.
There'll probably be a time limit on each of those numbers when these can be done anywhere from 1
And then see.
Yeah, they are, aren't they?
yes, it's obviously very urgent.
Very but yeah, one normal medium.
It's not a 4 though.
I think there's one thing about
Oh yeah.
what you think is expression as a song, and that's it. So that's maybe the why discussion is so because while she's thinking about it, without her for her mind, and have a very good discussion. Because if we just also talk about the depression because not just want to talk to us much about you know.
I think just opening up any like current concerns, like something else. Just the fact that he's an adult, but she's had this for years.
We don't know, it's really difficult because we don't know how severe his needs are, is she struggling to support him. So when they're talking about the systematic approach, if you sent in carers to support, it could have a knock-on effect on her mood, because she has someone she's got to accompany and support with him and reassurance.
But that might make her feel lonely because they take all that responsibility.
But then she can go around the community centre and see friends, you know what I mean? But she might not have the time to do that. I think
He wants to report. I feel like that's not enjoying nothing to feel like she's having else to
do. My nan still goes and does all the classes. Like a size 8 shops in Rhode Island. No, because they're there. December, she volunteers at the local travel place in the city.
I feel like these are very dependent on one of the whole lot.
I think that we're getting the lady with her depression and her son and she is connected, but it might not be. So we need to not make our own assumptions.
But I mean, not really much else we can say about it is that we get such a long time to discuss things when actually we don't know.
Yeah, Thompson's just done the class training.
I'm going to go there tonight. Mary, do you need a care with Bradley or anything?
Yeah, I just wanted to detail.
The only thing
That depression for a while, it's getting worse. Needs that
you could have a discussion with her and you could check out that she's living in.
So this is today's our step is preparation. Tomorrow we will and then the 5 stages is like whatever.
I haven't read that. Is that my own real contact?
Yes. Stages are
What we're saying.
so tomorrow we'll go that and then applying and then making this is process is
Okay, so the preparation and to understand the preparation. So we need to bring that who needs to support the information on the gathering, those that are involved in the information. So now we have to clear purpose. Then we have to discuss.
So maybe it's just saying you don't know what
We can get that down, give us a clear direction as to.
or was it that she went to GP to something else?
Yes, I think
Maybe you don't
You know that it's more than a mistake.
So it's and the brand list get more information. Broadway is a nice little village town, isn't it? Because you might be accessing
Professor, let's ask the question 7 so it gives us an idea of what. I don't know, I'm just thinking if that would give us a direction.
I feel like we can't go to school, actually. That's assuming that there's areas where I try not to assume mental health right there, actually.
We've got the Menendez brothers.
What's up today? Tapes. Menendez tapes. Tell the actual story.
I didn't think they told the psychiatrist about it.
It's in court.
Watch on YouTube. Yeah, but it's not the one I watched at the moment.
That's right.
That's basically engaged.
No way I'm going through here to that boy's going to use it. Read that week and they were like, yeah, we'll tell them this.
Watch the call. Watch the call. Unfortunately, it's not been used. I think it's just literally talking the only thing we can't defend there. Watch the call. They could twist it up in Netflix. They never did baby babies. It was true. She never went to prison. That's what she's doing.
They never, I think it's because they never mentioned it until they were aware that they weren't going to get away with it.
Yeah, I mean, it's sensationalised. You say that, you say that, no, I say that, so it happened.
It's like they made another documentary about how to make a murderer.
Yeah,
completely incorrect.
Yeah, I hate that.
There's been another documentary made since where he actually did go back to prison because he did commit murder. So it's been proven.
I don't get out like Gypsy Rose without living in a best
Netflix and social media sensationalised just going through and they can make money off that.
Actually, you watch Netflix. You watch.
I want to watch it because I know it's shame.
They are actually not good.
Watch it. It's devastating. I won't watch that picture that you had.
It's so good.
Oh my God. Sorry,
But then, yeah, I've got set. They are portraying it in values that they might be able to. I don't know.
Just because I'm here, you're not a local authority or duty. I'm not here. You're more like a working for volunteering.
I did feel something dodgy during
I'll go get a few now.
I can't wait to the one.
You know, we talked about how can you feel about the assessment process, or how can we manage it?
Moving sensationalised, so it would have done. They would have had the right now to make a switch like that.
It was all really apart from certain facts. It was dramatised. No, it was dramatised.
Things that he said were
She's an adult. She was on this morning.
Absolutely. They've done such a good job of representing things like identity. Did you watch the kids' movie?
Would you have those emails? Not why I want to be I'm watching, I want something I think she actually I can understand why they're not doing it, because the evidence and she's in the documentary on Channel 5 last night was like that, because they were saying how there was an actual killer girl giving her the time and how she was
That is categorization. Financially, to the
There's very little population and this is what I've got forward and gone on. Speak to the GP, actually have a GP.
so what I would if you have the details,
finish for a million times. You guys okay? Yeah. We'll be able to start on tomorrow and it will be the second part of the session.
Only we are thinking about the separation prior to
Preparation, and then tomorrow you're going to start the data collection phase. So you're going to interact with me to find out what you need to collect. I'm very good at that. Okay guys, we are pretty much out of time. So, thank you for your contributions today. You hanging on? Yeah. I will see you all 9:15. Charles Hastings, Old Hospital. Pardon? Charles Hastings, City Campus. Anyone gets the train, it's easier. I might get the train tomorrow. I'm thinking I might just get the train. Pardon? I'm Portland, so it's not far. It's not far, but it might be quicker to go on the train. I could read or something.
Very close. Very close.
Well, yeah, Charles Hastings literally.
I went with Manu there last week to see the library, and I couldn't park anywhere. And then I went to the campus, and then the students said, "Go to Jamila." I went there, and then I saw back. So I stayed in the car on Manu went to the library.
There is a car park, university car park. If you've got a permit, it's called the Moors car park. It's just along from the Swan Theatre. During the week it's university car park, weekend it's public. But it's a university car park.
When I look at the map, it says Constance Car Park.
Yeah, there it is. Okay guys, you're very welcome to go. And I'll see you in the morning. Jenny Lynn, Jenny Lynn, that's the one, it used to be one of the benefits on it, wouldn't be late tomorrow, so it's it's where Vinehouse, do you know where Vinehouse is? Is that road? The race course. It's a race course. Yeah, it's just over there. Yeah, there's race course, or there's one in front of the Hive. I mean, there's usually the other one over the road. Do you know where the Hive is? Yeah. I know. Do you know, I'm thinking I'm going to get a train in. The train station's all like there. Well done, you. Angela, you're doing yours tomorrow, aren't you? Yeah. Yeah, I can remember. I know you might doubt me, you're probably right too, but I haven't got a signing in sheet, so it'll be fine. I think I know everyone who's here.
And then they actually start being my favourite
Forward that going, how it's not working.